President Donald Trump is facing a mounting crisis over his Iran deal. And now, he's embracing a comparison that critics are calling utterly bizarre. As Mojtaba and Israel dominate headlines, Trump sparks a fresh political storm entirely of his own making. Trump sees no problem with being mentioned alongside Hitler, Stalin, and Mao in a viral comparison. Trump says "sounds good to me" to a post claiming his global reach surpasses that of infamous strongmen. Donald Trump has embraced a controversial comparison, linking him to some of history's most feared and powerful rulers. The US president reposted a message on Truth Social comparing him to figures such as Hitler and Stalin. The message argued those leaders never possessed the global influence and reach available to a modern US president. Dave King wrote, and I quote, "Historically, powerful people were characterized by brutal conquest and the fear that they instilled in the populations that came under their influence. Common names that would come to mind are Alexander the Great, the Caesars, Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, Tamerlane, Napoleon, and more recently, Hitler, Mao, and Stalin. The overwhelming difference between each of the above, when compared with President Trump, is their lack of global reach." Unquote. Trump responded to the assessment with a brief reaction, writing, "Sounds good to me." The post quickly attracted attention because it referenced some of history's most notorious autocratic leaders. The comparison also reignited debate over Trump's past remarks concerning strongmen and authoritarian rulers. CNN reported Trump had previously discussed the document during conversations with reporters earlier this year. The account appears in a new book by New York Times journalists Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. According to CNN, Trump produced the document while discussing his place in history and legacy. The authors wrote that Trump reviewed a list of influential historical figures during the conversation. The discussion resurfaced as Iran and the United States prepared to resume talks amid tensions over Hormuz and Lebanon. Iran and the US appear prepared to resume negotiations even as tensions remain elevated over the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The diplomatic effort gained urgency after Iran maintained restrictions on traffic through the Strait of Hormuz despite the recent agreement. US Vice President J.D. Vance traveled to Switzerland on June 20th as Washington sought to restart direct engagement with Tehran. An Iranian delegation also arrived in Switzerland as both sides attempted to build on the framework established by the Memorandum of Understanding. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Asim Munir are expected to participate as mediators during the talks. The talks are taking place while Iran continues to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed to commercial maritime traffic. Iranian officials linked the closure to alleged ceasefire violations and ongoing Israeli military activity in Lebanon. Tehran has presented the measure as leverage intended to ensure full compliance with the terms of the agreement. A directive cited by Iran International reportedly instructed media outlets to promote a unified national approach on the issue. Editors were reportedly told not to portray Hormuz closure and diplomatic negotiations as contradictory strategies. IRGC-affiliated Tasnim argued that the Strait of Hormuz should remain closed despite the resumption of negotiations. The outlet claimed that reopening the strategic waterway at this stage would amount to a major strategic error for Tehran. Tasnim argued that at least $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets should be released before any reopening takes place. The outlet also called for US waivers permitting Iranian oil exports to be fully implemented before further concessions. Tasnim further insisted that Israel must withdraw from its positions in Lebanon before Hormuz is reopened. The outlet argued that every commitment contained in the Iran-US memorandum must be fulfilled before the waterway is restored to normal operations. Meanwhile, Iran's chief negotiator issued a message ahead of the Switzerland talks, signaling Tehran's position before discussions begin. Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf said, and I quote, "I consider the innocent children of Minab and all the martyrs of dear Iran to be watching over my every action and behavior at every moment. They see us and expect things of us." God forbid that I should ever bring shame to the innocent martyrs and the people of Iran, and that I should join my companions with a clear conscience. Companions for whose reunion I eagerly await." Unquote.
Looking forward to starting the technical talks with the Iranians, the Pakistanis, and the Qataris. Our understanding is that the Iranians just landed. The Qataris and Pakistanis and some of our technical negotiators are still on the ground. So look, we'll have a couple days of talks. We're going to get this thing kicked off in the right way. There's a lot to discuss, but we're going to go through it all.
Fighting in Lebanon to upend the entire process. What does your plan do about that?
Well, Marco and the entire team have been actively managing what's going on in Lebanon. Despite the headlines, things are actually getting better there. Things have calmed down a little bit. It's going to be something we're just going to have to continuously manage to ensure that, Israel and Lebanon are both safe and secure. That's fundamentally the goal of this, is to make the whole region safe and secure. The big problem is that you have somebody will shoot and then somebody will respond, and you kind of have a chicken and egg problem where you just got to stop the shooting for long enough to get the ceasefire to hold. That's what we're going to try to do. We'll keep on working at it, but things have gotten better. Well, I think number one, just getting things set up in the right way and getting the actual structure of the negotiation in place. So the way that we're going to do this is that we're going to have a principal level political leadership at the top, and then obviously the technical team is going to stay on the ground. As much as I might like to stay in what appears to be a beautiful place, I can only be there for a day or two. I think we're going to hopefully make progress on the nuclear issue, make progress on the Lebanon ceasefire issue. Those are the two big things that I think we're going to be focused on. I'm sure the Iranians are going to have issues they'd like to discuss as well. We'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Trump warned that the US could impose tolls related to Hormuz transit if a final agreement with Iran is not reached within 60 days. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There will be no tolls in the Hormuz Strait for 60 days during the ceasefire period. And there will be no tolls after the 60-day period has expired, unless they are imposed by and for the United States of America. Should the deal not be completed, for services rendered as the guardian angel to the countries of the Middle East for purposes of both past, present, and future reimbursement of costs." Unquote.